Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd fa'awuzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Sadaqallahul azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're now looking at Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 102. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ماله في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم ولو كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم. So this is a very lengthy ayah, one of the longest ayahs in the Quran. It's a very important ayah, and it has various benefits as well. And that's the topic of this ayah as well, which is in terms of magic and the possession by devils by jinn. And many of the people who do ruqya, which is the exorcism of people, they use this particular ayah amongst others to help to do that ruqya. So let's have a look at the translation. And they followed instead what the devils had recited during the reign of Sulaiman alayhi salam. So they meaning the people of Bani Israel. And it was not Sulaiman alayhi salam who disbelieved, but the devils who disbelieved, teaching people magic and that which was revealed to the two angels at Babylon, Harut and Marut. But the two angels do not teach anyone unless they say, we are a trial, so do not disbelieve by practicing magic. And yet they learn from them that by which they cause separation between a man and his wife, but they do not harm anyone through it except by the permission of Allah Ta'ala. And the people learn what harms them and does not benefit them. But the children of Israel certainly knew that whoever purchased the magic would not have in the akhirah, in the hereafter, any share. And wretched is that for which they sold themselves, if only they knew. So this ayah explains a certain new episode in the history of the Bani Israel. And Surah Baqarah takes a lot of time, spends a lot of its ayat on talking about the behavior of the Bani Israel. And people who are unaware of this can read it and think, well, I'm getting a bit tired about reading the history of Bani Israel. What's the point? Let me talk about something else. But there is a point. First of all, there is that point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever he mentions in the Quran, is from him, his wisdom. And if he mentions it once, twice, or 100 times, it is needed to be mentioned once, twice, or 100 times. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. And it is for people of Iman to understand that, and they do. And the people who lack in Iman will not. So here we are looking at the tazkiyah of Quran, so which is a high level. You're looking at something where people of basic practice of the deen, they've got that. That's down. And then the aspects of Iman, that's in. And now those people are looking to the tazkiyah, the purification of their heart and the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the kind of people who will inshallah benefit from these courses, these videos that I'm doing, because I'm aiming it at people like that who have that love, that devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, putting him first as their priority and having that respect and awe for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is above and beyond all else. So no matter how many times messages are repeated in Surah Baqarah or the whole Quran for that matter about Bani Israel or about anything else for that matter, they will love it. They will take it and know it's from the wisdom of the Almighty, the All-Wise. So here we have this ayah, very lengthy ayah, as I say, And this particular ayah tells a lot. So I don't have the time and I'm not able to go through, as with other ayahs in the past as well, everything in the ayah. And sometimes I have to pick just something that's, important and leave other important things for another time, inshallah. So what I'm going to do today is focus on one particular aspect, which is in this ayah, but I'll give a little bit of background as well. So let's have a look at that background. This ayah introduces a whole new dimension in the behavior of Bani Israel, that of magic, when they came across this particular element, the element of magic. Now, during their captivity in Egypt and in Babylon, Bani Israel was exposed to sorcery. In Egypt, we know the famous story about the magicians, the 10 magicians who faced off against Musa alayhi salam, and his staff turned into a serpent, whereas what they did had ropes with colors on them and tricked people into thinking that they were actually snakes. So there was a lot of that sort of thing going on. Deception and actual magic as well was going on. And of course, working with jinn. We know that from the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam as well. And I'll come to that in a bit, inshallah. So in Egypt, they were seeing this with the magicians of the Pharaoh, and the city of Egypt, the empire of Egypt, had many people who were doing this sort of thing. It's just that he picked the 10 best ones to face off against Musa alayhi salam, but there were many in the empire that did this sort of thing. Then there was Babylon, and again they saw magic going on there. And so Bani Israel, under both stages of their lives, in captivity in Egypt, in captivity in Babylon, they were exposed to magic, sorcery, trickery, and so, of course, human nature being what it was, and they're seeing the effects of it. There were those amongst the Bani Israel who had that evil nature, evil intent, and so they started to learn about this, and they started to understand it, and which was at that time forbidden for them. They became interested and involved in using magic. Specifically, they used it to break up marriages. So this is Bani Israel now actually learning about magic from people from amongst them, and then using that to break up marriages of other people of the Bani Israel. And this would have been in cases where you have this so-called love triangle or something, where somebody wanted to marry a woman and that woman marries somebody else. And so he breaks that marriage up and causes her to fall out of love with that person and in love with him. So that sort of thing, whether it's men or women doing it, the point being that this sort of thing was happening a lot. And of course, there were other things as well, causing people to have what might be called the effect of the evil eye. So people in their lives would not succeed anymore. If they were successful, there would be people would be envious of them, and that envy, the eye of envy, would be placed upon them, and so they would find difficulty in their lives. Things would start to go wrong, and the story of success became a story of tragedy or misery for that person because of the intent of the person who had that evil eye or that hasad, that envy of them. So all of this was going on, not to mention, of course, the fact that they would also try to work with the jinn, try to influence the jinn, try to elicit their help, and have people who would be possessed by the jinn, send jinn to people and have the jinn possess that person, so that again their life would become ruins, or their success would become destroyed, and they would not be able to think straight because of the possession of the jinn, and they would not be able to function as a normal person in society, or they would have episodes in the day where they would have some kind of fit, and the jinn would have more influence over them, and they would lose their mind and behave in a erratic manner. So there was these sorts of things that were going on at that time, which the Bani Israel learnt from the Egyptians, learnt from the Babylonians, and then started to practice it amongst themselves. It became further than that, to the extent that they also began to assign magic to the prophets. So they started to say that, well, the prophets, when they did these miraculous things, then this was done through the power of magic. And now we understand how they did it. And now we can do it as well. We have that same power. This is what they've been doing. They've been using magic, and that's how they've been doing these miracles. And it wasn't through God, and so on. So when these sorts of beliefs started to seep into the Bani Israel, it was around about that point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sent 2 angels called Harut and Marut alayhim salam. And these 2 angels were sent to Babylon. And at that time, they were sent to clarify this misunderstanding and again to warn the people about magic and its harmful effects. So this is a verse in the Quran which states that the angel said to the people that, this is harmful. We are a test for you. So meaning that we're here to clarify that this is magic and it's not divine miracle. Divine miracle is a completely different thing to what is magic. And the prophets and the angels and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself do not use magic to do the things that they have done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, his qudra is immense, it's all powerful, it's way beyond magic. And so they were sent to clarify this and also to dissuade people from practicing magic. They also taught the people who wanted to know about the difference between magic and divine power, to the extent of explaining to them principles of magic so they can understand that this is magic and this is not. So hence they said, we are an imtihan for you, a test for you, because if you learn these things from us, you could misuse them. Because we're obviously still going to teach you the principles of magic, and by learning those principles, you could actually start doing that magic, and of course for the wrong reasons. So they say we are an imtihan for you, we're a test for you. And so many of the Mufassirin talk about this, how these angels came not to teach magic, but to clarify the idea of magic and how wrong it was, and the dangers of magic, and to give it to select people to get them to understand and warn them on top of everything else that this is something which is a trial and a test for you. So this is what they did, and when they explained this to them later on, those people who had learned it, they wrote it down, they wrote the principles down. Other people then came along who wanted to use those principles for evil purposes. So this is where the idea of magic and Harut and Marut and in the kingdom of Sulaiman al-Islam, which came later, that this began to surface a lot. So what happened was Sulaiman al-Islam, he confiscated all the books that had been written about magic. He confiscated them all. He had a call out to his empire, and anybody and everybody who had written down aspects of magic which they'd learned from Harut and Marut alayhim salam were to hand their scrolls in. Once that was done, it is said that he had them all put under his throne, buried underground under his throne, and there they remain to this day. Wallahu alam. They remain to this day. And so I don't want to go into those issues now, but there are stories and accounts of where people of the Bani Israeel today are trying to dig under the Masjid al-Aqsa, where they believe the throne of Sulaiman alayhi salam was, and they want to take those scrolls. They want to find those scrolls and take those scrolls and look at the principles of magic and do that again in the world. So that's another story for another time. I don't want to go into that at the moment. As I say, my focus is on something else today from this ayah, but I wanted to give some kind of background from this ayah as to what was going on and bring that up to date. So that was Bani Israel with the magic and Harut and Marut alayhim salam coming to clarify about magic and divine miracles, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على ملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فترة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم لو كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم. So again, the ayah reads that they followed instead what the devils had recited during the reign of Sulaiman al-Islam. It was not Sulaiman al-Islam who disbelieved, but the devils disbelieved, teaching people magic and that which was revealed to the two angels at Babylon, Harut and Marut alayhim salam. But the two angels do not teach anyone unless they say, we are a trial, so do not disbelieve by practicing magic. And yet they learn from them that by which they cause separation between a man and his wife, but they do not harm anyone through it except by the permission of Allah. And the people learn what harms them and does not benefit them. And the children of Israel certainly knew that whoever purchased the magic would not have in the hereafter any share, and wretched is that for which they sold themselves if they only knew. So also from this we can understand that ultimately, as we understand with everything, whether it's magic and whether it's warfare and whether it's family feuds, whatever it is, anyone and anywhere who wishes to try to harm someone cannot do it except by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is ultimately because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission that any harm comes to anyone in any way. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clarifying in this because, of course, the big belief was that the magic was this incredible power and the prophets were using this power and so on. And so because it was contending in the minds of the people with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making clear that no one can harm anyone, even with this great power of magic, except by the permission of Allah ta'ala, signifying again clearly that the power of Allah is way above and over magic, that even magic has no possibility and no potential in front of the might and the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just his very permission, and that's it. No magic can harm a person. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making that clear. And of course we have the issue here that in particular the people use this to cause separation between husband and wife. So as I said, there are many lessons in this long ayah, but the focus will be on marriage. I want to look at the idea of marriage and with respect to magic. Just as with Bani Israel, tragically, there are those within the Ummah who practice magic. And it is a tragedy, but there are many cases of people who are in various Muslim countries. And it seems, subhanAllah, that every nation, every Muslim nation, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Yemen, Iraq, Iran, and so on, all the Muslim countries, there seems to be magic going on in all of those countries. There are stories of magic and influence of magic and the evil eye and the possession of jinn in all Muslim lands, subhanAllah. It is a tragedy because with Bani Israel, they were warned and they learnt it, and it caused much fitna, much fasad. And for us coming way after them, learning this in the Quran, being told this, being warned about it, seeing the impact it had upon the Bani Israel, and yet here we are, many of us still practicing this, causing harm one to another. Also in this ayah, and then following through from the Sharia, is that anyone who practices magic, anyone who goes to a magician and elicits their help, both of those people have become kafir. They have lost their iman. They are out of the deen of Islam. So, and in a severe way, not in a manner where, for example, you might commit a theft or a murder or a rape or something like that, adultery. No, this is worse than that. This is something where you die upon this. This is shirk. Magic, eliciting someone who does magic, eliciting the help of jinn, all of this is kufr, shirk. And a person who dies upon shirk will not enter Jannah, will not have the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. It's over. With other crimes, murder even, rape and so on the day of judgment, there can be forgiveness, there can be mitigation because you have done good in your life and that can override the bad in your life. That can happen, or there can be some kind of forgiveness or atonement that could have been done in this life. However, with shirk, there is no atonement, there is no forgiveness, and there is no mitigation by doing good deeds. Committing shirk takes you out of the fold of Islam. Then you are in the same situation as any non-Muslim who, however good they are, will have nothing in the akhirah. So with such a severe warning, it is again still tragic that many Muslims practice magic. Many Muslims are still doing this and eliciting the help of those who do magic, subhanAllah. So magic can be used to affect the marital relationship in two cases. One, the case of preventing it, and two, the case of breaking it up. Those are the two main ones. There are other ways, but these are the two main ones that people use magic for when it comes to affecting the marital relationship. So the prevention is in causing difficulties to conduct the nikah. So two people want to get married, people are aware of it, they try to book a date, they try to set a time when they will get married, and many difficulties start to occur. They're not able to meet that date, the date is cancelled, they have to set another date, that is cancelled, they have to set another date, that is cancelled, and it just doesn't seem to happen until they give up. Or something happens on the day or during the course of the days of the marriage to take place where either the husband-to-be or the wife-to-be is injured in some way, or something like this happens and the marriage, the nikah, is prevented. So that's the effects of magic upon the marriage relationship by not even allowing it to be substantiated in the first place. In the second instance, if somebody starts to work magic upon a couple who are already married, and takes up magic against them, be it jinn, be it possession, be it evil eye, be it hasad, jealousy, etc., whatever it is. Then the second aspect is to break up the existing marriage, and that breakup is in making either seem ugly or of bad character to the other, and to develop hate. Now, this is something which is quite common. There are so many divorces now taking place, and one has to wonder how many of those are actually attributed to magic and how many are just attributed to bad character in itself. Because magic also can lead to that. Magic can make two people who may to begin with loved each other, cared for each other, thought the world of each other, and were together and had many good years together even. But then there comes a point where it starts to become bitter, and they start to look ugly in each other's eyes. They start to lose love for each other, care for each other. They don't want even to be able to be touched by each other. They don't have time for each other. They don't care that they don't have time for each other. And they start to become like this. Or the character starts to become bad. The man becomes a bad character towards the woman, or the woman, the wife, becomes a bad character towards the man. And again, this causes more distance between the two. So in both cases, it ends up with the feelings of hatred growing in the hearts of either or both of the couple towards each other. And this is all part of the effects of magic. And again, I'm not saying that this every time that happens, it's to do with magic, but I'm just giving you what magic does cause. And so in many cases, it will be the cause of agent will be magic. But it's up to the couple to try to find that out, to see someone who is qualified in this area and is able to determine whether they're affected by magic or not. And you'd be surprised when people are, and they may not, they're least expected, and they may be affected by magic, subhanallah. So I want to look at some aspects of protection in the marriage, because that's very important. And so the protection can be through istikhara and du'as. For example, istikhara for the nikah to take place as to whether the other person is good for you or not. And if the istikhara is positive, then inshallah continue and something good will happen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that nikah to happen. The other thing is obviously du'as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the istikhara comes out positive, then you make du'as to Allah ta'ala, Ya Allah, give us good conduct, give us safety, give us aman, and allow this nikah to happen. Having married or even unmarried, check the house for anything odd. Because when somebody does magic, sometimes they'll come and visit me. And that's the other thing. Sometimes magic can be done through people you know. Because the other people who are going to have hasad of you. The other people who are going to be envious of you. And they're the ones therefore that will go away and cause that magic to happen. So when they come to your house, having conducted that magic, may leave something in your house. And that something will be what I'm term as an odd thing. For example, maybe some feathers are left somewhere. Maybe a dead mouse or a rat somewhere in the house, under a bed or somewhere in a corner. Maybe there is some other part or organ of an animal that is left in the house somewhere. Maybe a bunch of hair. Whatever it is, something that is odd and out of place that you know is not yours or shouldn't be there, or you cannot understand how you got there, then that thing should be removed from the house, because that is most likely, if there is magic going on, then that will be the source of the magic or the channeling of the magic. Another thing that can be done is a recitation of Quran daily in the house. And this is something which should be done normally anyway, but the recitation of Quran helps to clear the atmosphere in the home from the impacts of magic. One of the best things that can be done is to recite Quran, which is the right of the Quran, to recite at least one juz of the Quran every day over 30 days in a month, and to complete the recitation of Quran every month and then repeat it. If that is not possible, then the other thing to be done, and one of the most important surahs in the Quran for this, is Surah Baqarah. Surah Baqarah, which is what we're going through now, if that is recited, the whole Surah Baqarah is recited over a period of 2-3 days. If you want, one sitting would be good if you can do that. If not, then maybe split it up for 2 or 3 days, or get 2 or 3 people to read a portion of it so that it's completed in the house. But that Surah Baqarah will allow the house to be protected from the effects of magic for 3 days. For 3 days after the completion of the recitation of Surah Baqarah, the house will be protected from the impact of magic. And then you have to repeat it again. So every 3 days, on the 4th day, you repeat Surah Baqarah. And again, as I say, you portion it out. Everybody can read a small portion in the family, and you complete the Surah Baqarah like that. Or you read it, if you're already the only person who can read it, over 2 to 3 days. And as soon as it's completed, then it will be protection for the house. And while it's being repeated, recited, it will also be protection for the house as well, inshallah. Apart from that, also you can recite Surah Ayatul Kursi Ayatul Kursi when going to sleep. Recite Ayatul Kursi aloud and then blow upon yourselves, and that is another thing. Also, the three Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq, or Qul a'udhu birabbin nas. These three are at the end of the Quran. These three surahs being recited, and then to blow in your hands and wipe with your hands over your body, back and front, from head to toe, as far as you can reach around on your body by yourself. You do it to yourself. You don't get somebody else to do it to you. You do it to yourself, and that is at the time of going to sleep. So Ayatul Kursi and the recitation of the three Quls. These are protections in the night and through the night for yourself. The next point is to have Salah in the house. Now, Salah should be performed normally in the house, and it should be done with the Fard being in the masjid. The man should go to the masjid and pray his Fard in the masjid, and then his sunnahs he should pray at home. And other than that, his wife, daughter, son, daughters, particularly the women folk of the house, should be praying in the house anyway. And then his salah, part of his salah is in the masjid. The fard and the sunnahs should be done at home. It is a misunderstanding and a disappointment to see the majority of the ummah reciting all of their salah at the masjid, leaving nothing for the home. When Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, leave a portion of your salah for the home, don't let your homes become a graveyard. That's to the man, knowing full well that the woman could be praying in the house all the time anyway, but it's the man, his prayer must come home as well, a portion of it, and that is the sunnah and the nafil. The sunnah and the nafil of the salah should be done at home, not in the masjid. People tend to read their fard and then read their sunnahs, and they come home empty-handed of the salah, empty-handed of the salah, and so nothing in the house of the salah. So that's not a good thing to do. There should be a portion of it in the house as well daily. Pictures. People have pictures of living things and photographs of family members and so on sticking up on the walls. This is wrong. It is haram. You're not supposed to have living things anyway, animals or humans, loved or not. You're not supposed to have living things, paintings or photographs of these things in the house, because you pray in the house and the angels do not enter house where there are pictures of living things. So you're removing the angels from your house. What is left if you remove the angels? The jinn are left. So that's important. Another point is checkered flooring. Now, this tends to happen a lot, especially in the European countries. In the kitchen, you have checkered flooring. Checkered flooring is black and white tiles. Black and white tiles, checkered, right? If you have something like that in the kitchen, I would seriously suggest that either you cover it with a lino, or you remove those tiles and replace them with other tiles, brown tiles, whatever color tiles, but you do not have checkered black and white tiles, because checkered black and white tiles are, and you can see this in also devil worshippers and various, these organizations of evil, the Cabal and so on, using these kinds of floors where they do their Satan worship rituals. So the checkered flooring is connected to magic. So do not have checkered flooring. If you have checkered flooring, remove it from your kitchen, cover it with a lino, or have the tiles removed and replaced with other colored tiles. Protect the relationship itself of marriage by developing it via mental and emotional means. What I mean by that is sit down and do things together, have mental discussions, and learn things together, have intellectual discussions, understand one another, understand each other's reasoning and rationale, and become closer in your mind of understanding each other. Secondly, by emotional means. So increase your love, increase your emotional understanding of each other, increase your emotional development towards one another. You must show more connection with each other, be more what they call lovey-dovey, touch each other, hold each other, sit close to each other, look each other in the eyes when talking to each other, make more eye contact during the day with one another. These are important things which help to develop the relationship between the two people, the mental and emotional. Another important aspect of marriage, which is often overlooked, is the magic effects are used upon is the sexual relationship. Now, sexual relationship, this is a very important aspect of marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this. It is so important that in the first instance, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam and he was left alone in Jannah, he had everything. He had everything going for him, yet he felt something was missing. Now, he didn't know what, even though Allah ta'ala taught him the names and nature of all things except woman. Woman had not been created. So he didn't know what it was, but it was gnawing away at him inside himself, his loneliness. And he knew it wasn't another man that he needed, a company of a brother or a father or a son or something. It was a company of something which he couldn't understand because it was not created. Then Allah Ta'ala creates woman one day when Adam al-Islam is asleep through the rib bone of his body. And then when he wakes, he sees her. And the first thing he does when he sees her and sees her beauty and her perfection, he tries to touch her, and this is the sexual act or a symbolic action of this sexual act, that he wishes to touch her. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performs the first nikah, and then they are let into the Garden of Jannah where they live together. So this is important, that partnership and companionship and its expression through the sexual relationship between husband and wife. We know that the world is full of the corruption of the sexual relationship, where people are doing zina outside of marriage, but inside of marriage, the very thing that is so harmful and sinful outside of marriage, inside marriage is rewarded. So husband and wife should be very concerned about this. This is something which should be, is not just for the honeymoon period and then after it fizzles out. That's not right, because that's part of what magic does. Magic affects the sexual relationship such to the extent that maybe a man is affected in his private parts, such that what we call erectile dysfunction occurs in him. So he cannot perform the sexual act with his wife. And sometimes this kind of thing affects the private parts of the woman, such that she closes her legs together at the point where the husband and wife are about to have the sexual act itself. And so she does this subconsciously. She can't help herself. And she doesn't mean to do it, but she does it. It's called being frigid. And these kind of actions occur through magic. Magic has been done upon both couples of the couple. And what happens is the man is affected in his manner and the woman is affected in her manner. And when this sort of thing happens, then you have to understand that there has to be means to seek a way through. Part of the way through is the du'as and so on that I've told you, but also you can do it even through sexual relationships itself, that, you know, you can go. It's perfectly jais to seek advice from an imam or a sheikh, a scholar, about sexual advice and about how to overcome these problems, and also how to bypass them, because the ultimate end of the sexual act is to cause that joy, which is known as orgasm, between the husband and wife. So if that can still occur by other means, not just through the sexual act, and which is possible, a woman can be brought to her orgasm, a man can be brought to his orgasm without the actual sexual act taking place. And as a result of that, alhamdulillah, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this as a means to enjoy one another and to give each other that kind of joy. And when somebody gives somebody joy by pleasing somebody in any way, by giving them a gift or a present or helping them through a problem, then you feel gratitude towards them and closeness towards them and that overwhelming emotional feeling towards them. So when it comes to the sexual act, this is a pleasure of the most intense kind. And so when the husband gives this to the wife and the wife gives it to the husband, then if it's done through the normal sexual act, then it's something they enjoy together. And if it's done because of problems and magic, and the husband pleasures his wife in a separate manner using his hands, and the wife pleasures her husband using her hands, then this is perfectly possible, and it would help bypass the effects of magic and preventing the sexual act taking place, because the sexual act is very important in causing closeness and understanding and the development and the strengthening of love between the two people. So this is perfectly normal, perfectly jais, perfectly rewarded, and it should be taken as very serious, because those who wish to cause disruption in the magic in the marital relationship will use sexual act as a part of their tools by breaking it down between the couple. So if they can do that, it means it is important. And of course, there are many marriages that break up because of the lack of or the limited means of the sexual act. But understand this: if the sexual act is affected for a married couple, do not think of divorce. That is not the solution. That is simply giving into the magic and allowing it to destroy the marriage. Sexual acts, as I said, the aim of the sexual act is to have the orgasm, to have that intense feeling of pleasure. Well, that can be done in other ways. The husband can do that to his wife, and the wife can do that to the husband. So do not go to the door of divorce. Develop other sexual means. You can get advice and etc. for how to do this, and this is important in order to protect the marriage, inshallah. Finally, I just want to look at the symbolic meaning of the sexual relationship as a blessing from Allah Ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this as a blessing, and because it's a blessing, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also taught the Sahaba that when you go to your wife and you go to your partners and you have sexual relationship with them, you will get rewarded. And the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, we enjoy it anyway. What, we got reward for that? And Rasulullah said, and this is important, if you were to do this in a haram manner, would you not be sinned for it? Yes, we would. Therefore, you are rewarded for it that you went and did it in a halal manner. So it just goes to show, as I said, that the corruption of the sexual act of zina, or then using it within marriage, it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of the ulama have said that the intense feeling that you have, that orgasmic feeling of pleasure, is actually a zaika, a taste of Jannah. That in Jannah, food will give you that sensation, and the sexual act will be much longer, more purer, more longer in Jannah than it is on earth. On earth, it's moments of pleasure, whether it be for the man or for the woman. But in Jannah, it will last longer. So there you go. It's a specific aspect of joy even in Jannah. And so it's important to understand this and value it. That the husband and wife should value this and use it as a means of spiritual closeness too. Because if you think about it, the most private part of a man is connected to the most private part of a woman. So that shows what? The closeness. And when the act is actually being performed, it's as if the two become one. And the nikah is such a thing that it's such a relationship of in marriage that there are a close relationship between two sisters, two brothers, a brother and a sister, a mother and a daughter, a mother and a son, a father and a daughter, a father and a son, two brothers, two friends, two neighbors, etc. There are many close relationships where people are very open with each other, close to each other, help each other, etc. However, no relationship has the act of sexuality which the marital relationship does. The marital relationship can have all the other relationships included in it. It can be fatherly, motherly, brotherly, sisterly, all these things that can be in there. All the things you share with all those relationships you can have within the marriage between the husband and wife. But the sexual act is an act on top of that. So that just goes to show that the closest relationship is the marital relationship. And so it's the most powerful because it is a fundamental aspect of society. So the husband and wife must understand that this closeness is there and by Allah as a gift. And as a result of that, they should share that and they should express sexuality to one another, and they should keep it's not just for the honeymoon period, it should be kept throughout marriage for as long as people can. And there's no harm in people who in their 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, people still can have sexual intercourse. It's not a problem. So long as it's needed, so long as it can be expressed, and the husband and wife should be open with each other about this. There's no shame between the husband and wife for the wife to say, even in older age, that I still need sexual intercourse, or for the husband to say so. There's nothing wrong with that. You're talking to your partner. You're talking to the person who's closer to you than any other being in all other relationships on earth. So be open with each other, be close to each other, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everybody's marriages and prevent us from destruction. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.